Talk about this. Talk about what is different between, like, what is your vision for what's going to
Yes.
happen here
This,
and how it can actually make a material difference to
well,
agriculture?
yeah, this system we created, we call it boosted breeding. And so again, we apply a protein to two parent plants, and it causes those parent plants to give all their DNA to their offspring rather than half their DNA. So there's three things that happen. The first thing that happens is we can combine traits. So rather than randomly getting half the traits from the mother, half from the father, we can combine all the good traits together. So we know that there's lots of corn plants, there's lots of rice, there's lots of potato plants that have great genetics. But when we try and cross them with other plants that have great genetics, we lose a bunch of traits. And it takes forever for breeders. Sometimes they never get there in being able to get this all together. So we can get them all together, combining traits. So huge unlock. And a trait, like I mentioned, could be like resistant to drought. The plant could be resistant to insects. It could grow deep. So it could adapt to climate change. It can adapt to new environmental conditions. That's an incredible important point about agriculture is we have to adapt to a changing climate. The second thing it does is it increasing genetic diversity in the plant. This guy that I mentioned, George Shull, who developed hybrid technology, he identified this thing called heterosis. Heterosis means that the yield of the plant, progressive heterosis, the yield of the plant goes up when you have more genetic diversity. And that's because the more genes in a plant, there's this interesting thing that happens, which is the genes start to regulate each other, turn each other on and off in a more efficient way. So when the genes are needed, they're turned on. When they're not needed, they're turned off. So more genetic diversity actually causes a network effect in the plant that causes, for some reason, a massive boost in yield and health of the plant. The plant grows faster, it's healthier, it's bigger. So that's very a powerful unlock, and it's a big part of the reason that we're able to drive yield up in our boosted plants, as we call them. And then the third feature is, remember how I mentioned that every sperm is different, every ovary is different. The same is true in plants. Every seed is different. So when you end up with a fertilized plant, you get seed. And every one of those seed is genetically unique in most plant species. So you can't really use those seed in agriculture because every plant in the field would be different. They'd grow at different rates. They'd have different features. Some of them would be drought resistant. Some of them would be. So the whole seed industry is built around how do we get genetically uniform seed.